Hello, welcome back. Chase Thomas Podcast, taping this on a Wednesday afternoon. Coach Derek Hunt has returned. Maryville Rebels head football coach on this rainy, dreary, now typical Knoxville, Tennessee day here in the winter. Coach, how's it going?
Good, man. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. You're growing the hair out.
Yeah, a little bit. I cut my own hair, have since I was 14.
Okay.
So I'll let it grow out I guess not long, but maybe every other month I'll cut it.
What about faux hawk? Could we do a faux hawk this fall?
Probably not. I did have a mohawk when I was in college for about 2 or 3 months, but
okay.
Yeah, can't pull
it off. What the wife
anymore.
think?
I don't think she. Nobody cares when you're 21.
Okay.
But I don't
That's
know.
When you can experiment.
Yeah, I don't know about at 34 how that would work.
No, I don't know. You could see what the kids think. Just try some different stuff. You never know. Faux hawk, mohawk. There's all kinds of time, man. You're head coach. Like, you can do whatever. You can experiment a little bit.
I don't know about do whatever.
I like it. Well, my first question to you. So it was funny. I was listening to this NFL podcast the other day, and it made me think about college or high school, excuse me, because something that, like, me going to all these different games in high school and watching Tennessee and watching the pros, watching high school, one of the things I think about is, like, what is football going to look like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, right?
Yeah.
And something that they had mentioned and wrote about, and this was Barnwell from ESPN had written about it and talking to other NFL coaches, I think, was that the hook and ladder for pass option plays is something that's going to be a common thing. When, I don't know if you saw the Chiefs game where Travis Kelce had that pitch on that curl where I think it was Jerick McKinnon was out in the flats and he was just sitting there waiting for Kelce to run the route. If he was open, Kelce always knew he was pitching that ball right there for McKinnon in the flat, and it was fine. It looked seamless. Like, it wasn't really all that crazy of a play. Do you think that's what we're going to see more? Because obviously there's so much RPO in the sport. Do you think we're going to have RPO stuff, player option stuff, just out in the flat like that in the next 10 to 20 years? And that's going to be like a common thing. The defenses are going to have to play so disciplined that you're now going to have to care not only about what the quarterback is doing with option plays, but also the tight end and receivers on any given down.
That's a fun question to think about. I would bet against that. I would say that's probably not where we're heading.
Okay.
Time will tell, and that would be cool if we did. But here's what we got to think about, Chase. This is Travis Kelce, who's the best tight end in the world right now. Okay, that obviously has a lot of trust. He's been in the same system. I think the Chiefs drafted him, so he knows Mahomes and his coach. As good as any tight end could know a quarterback and a coach. So again, it's the best tight end in the world right now. So they have a lot of faith in him. So that if they throw him the ball, they trust that he's going to make a really good decision. Hey, it's open. I need to toss it over there. And it was open, but he just didn't execute it. You know? And they probably practiced that play, who knows how many times, and still didn't execute it. And so I think about that. Okay, that looks great. You probably saw it. Some people will probably show it on some clinic tape this offseason.
Yeah.
But can you imagine a 16-year-old, tight end that, he's been playing football for 3 years. And so we're going to throw him the ball, or anybody, receiver, doesn't matter. We're going to throw him the ball and trust that he makes a really good decision out in the middle of the field. Like when teams that run the option a lot, back when I was playing, we would run veer, which is a version of triple. It's a way to run triple option, or true teams that run true triple option. Like, they have to practice it until they're blue in the face to get average at it, just to be average. You think of like Navy and Army, those teams, like, they do it. That's all they do. And so, and they're the best in the world at it because that's all they do. And so, in high school, you have to practice it all the time. You have to major in it. You can't minor in the option. You have to major in it. And I just don't see how we could, especially in the high school game. Now, maybe in the pros, but I don't see how you could say, all right, we're going to throw it to you downfield, and you're going to decide whether to pitch or not. Like, it's going to be disastrous. Like, I'm sure it would work in trick plays and sometimes like that. And like hook and ladder type plays have worked, in the past at Maryville. I know Alcoa's, that's one of their favorite plays. They executed against us a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago. I've seen it happen in state championship games for huge plays, and obviously in the pros a couple times. But there's no way it becomes football mainstream.
Yeah, so that you don't have to worry about like just every single play, like your defense, like you got to stay disciplined. There's always the possibility, like doesn't matter where the quarterback's going with the football, like they're just watch and be ready for an option play once he receives the ball. You don't think we're anywhere near that? Yeah,
I don't, but
yeah.
Maybe I'm just that far behind. So
well, no, it makes sense, and I wonder too. I thought about it from a flag football perspective, where like kids are thinking about that with more and more kids playing that up until high school, where that's something they would practice, and maybe that's would make it easier if they're learning in that respect. Like that's just something that they just are doing up until high school. I don't know. But like you said, like, you have to spend so much time on it.
The flag would be a great place to practice it if you're going to practice it.
Right? Like that's where you would practice
no
it.
Pressure.
Exactly.
They dropped it and fumbled it and they got it. Okay, who cares? But on a Friday night.
Yeah, that's a totally different ball game.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think then? What do you think is going to be the biggest thing? If you had to guess, Coach, like you had to guess and look into your crystal ball, clairvoyant Coach Derek Hunt right here. What do you think looks the most different about football in the next 20 years in the high school level?
That's a great question. And of course, I don't know the answer. I'll give an opinion, or really a guess. It's not, so much of the game the last 10 years has changed because of the rules.
Right.
So it's not like football has progressed so much. We've just been reactive to what rules have been put in place. And let me be very clear. They're not making any rules to help teams play defense. Like that's not happening, and it's not going to happen just because of where the safety of the game comes into play. And, and I'm a traditionalist, I think, even though I'm just 34, but I still feel like, football was made for the rough and tough, and although I'll be the first to admit I probably wasn't one of those guys, but I still loved football. And it's changed so much, even in the last 10 years, with concussions and all, I was watching tape. It's a perfect example. I was watching tape of a 2006 Maryville game last week. And we punted the ball to Maryville was playing Powell. We punted the ball to Powell. Powell was really good that year. And I was going back to look at I wasn't just watching the whole game. I was going back to look for a specific play. Punted the ball to Powell. And there was 3 blocks that Powell threw that were blindside, helmet to helmet, decleaters. And their sidelines going nuts. And our kids get up, run off the field, and the football game goes on. No flags, obviously, because that was part of it. Yeah. Now, like on punt team, we're literally coaching our kids, and you see it on Sunday nights, Saturdays, colleges. They're running with their hands in the air just to like set a pick, essentially. And so because it's a rule, you get flagged 15 yards, and in college you can get thrown out of the game, and so no chance that happens now. Yeah. It's egregious if it does. And it's only been, that's only been 10, 15 years. Yeah. So to answer your question, it's hard to really know where the game's going because you don't know what rule changes are going to be put in play. But I just see it becoming more and more, I hate to say this, of a passing game. And I don't like that. I think at Maryville, we try to be really balanced. We like to throw the ball for sure. But we're never going to get away from the run game in totality. So we're always going to play to the strengths of our kids. And, if we can throw it and have great receivers that year, maybe we'll be more pass heavy. And if not, then we're run heavy. But, I just don't want to see – I like 7-on-7 to an extent. I think I think at a certain point, though, you get to a point where there's no value. Like you do so much of it, there's a point where you kind of it's overdue, it's over, and it's
diminishing returns.
Of course, the law of diminishing returns, and it's just like, so we do some of it, but we do enough to improve and kind of get as much as we can out of it. But it's not real football, at least not now. And maybe that's where it's going. So the NFL has done that in the last few years, so maybe that's where football in itself is going.
Yeah, I think we're going to get to the point where I don't think kickoffs will exist. I don't think kickoffs will be a part of it because we're now like, how many kick returns do we really see anymore? We're just going to get to the point where it's like, what are we even doing? What's the point of even doing this for 4 returns a season for some guys? Like, what is what is the point of this? If we're going to make it that safe, we're going to move it up that much where we're kicking out of the end zone anyway. What's the point of even going through this song and dance just to get some cardio for some guys who are only playing special teams? Like, what are we actually doing here? And like you said, the decleaters and stuff, like it's, I think that's what they found, right? Was like special teams was like the biggest one where you would see a lot of the concussions, a lot of kids just getting rocked when they're running full speed like that. So like that was something that took out of the game. But I think in terms of running the ball, I think most teams will probably like have, I think more at the, like, what was it? I think Pigeon Forge, what do they run? What is Pigeon Forge running? They run the wing tee, I think. I think they run the wing tee. And like, they grow up with that. Like the middle school runs the wing tee, the elementary school runs the wing tee. Like you grew up in that system. I don't think they're going to change regardless of what happens with the NFL. So I think high school will probably be okay. And I like that. I like that like different communities have different styles. Like Maryville has a style, like you said in our last conversation last year, where like you grow up in the Maryville, not like kind of like Maryville way, but like the Maryville scheme, the Maryville style. So these kids, once they get to high school, they're ready to go and they know kind of what's going to be expected of them, right? Like to throw that for a loop just because the game is going somewhere different on the national level. I don't know. I just don't see that as much. And I think we've gotten to the point where like you see the Niners, their run first team. They one of the Kyle Shanahan and his scheme, he wants to run down your throats. And I think there will always be different outliers. And it's also just you pass to set up the run, or like to kill clock, to close out games. I think a lot of teams will still, and a lot of coaches will prefer to do that rather than like, I get what you're saying with like the quick curls and like a 5-yard curl is the same as just a running just an RPO or whatever. But like, I think that, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever get that far, but I do think partly because there's just not enough good quarterbacks, right? Like nobody has not everybody has a great quarterback to do that, to pass all the time.
There's definitely a shortage of great quarterbacks. And,
right? Yeah.
If you think of all, of the millions of kids in the world that want to play quarterback, there's, and you look in the NFL and, there's probably only 15 to 20, if that team would like to sign the long-term deals. And you were talking about it. Well, where does football go in 20 years? I don't know. But at the end of the day, teams are always going to do what their players are good at.
Yep.
And like, that's what we try to do at Maryville. Like if, so we'll always change our offense schematically a little bit every year to fit our personnel. I mean, this is a high school. So, whoever, we can't decide who's going to be born in Maryville, and then, 16 years later, they're in our, so we have to adjust to them. The college, you can go recruit what you want. And then in pros, you can draft and, pick up in free agency what you want. But at the end of the day, if Patrick Mahomes played for the 49ers, I guarantee you that offense looks different.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to hand the ball off 40 times a game if you've got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback.
Right.
And the same is true, the 49ers are built to run the football. They're built for that. They have one of the best tight ends in the game. They have Christian McCaffrey, Mitchell at running back, and big offensive linemen. And so that's who they are schematically. Now, Shanahan's always kind of been a run first, boot off of it type of play caller. He's phenomenal. I think he's probably one of the most impressive football coaches in the game right now. Obviously, coaches for the 49ers. But I just think they're always going to do what their players are good at. And they use Deebo Samuel. I mean, he's so good at everything, and they use him everywhere. So I guess, if the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, if they threw 5 passes only, they're probably going to get beat.
Yeah.
They've got the best quarterback in the world right now, so they're going to use his skill set.
Yeah, you just look at the difference with Alex Smith at quarterback for the Chiefs years ago versus Mahomes. It's a little bit different. They adapt based on what you have. But not everybody, like you said, has Patrick Mahomes. And something tells me not everybody in East Tennessee has Patrick Mahomes at quarterback getting ready for high school. No.
They don't exist.
No. What was your favorite moment from this past season?
That's a good question. Probably down at Bradley, we obviously we went through a lot of adversity this year. We had, everybody thought we were young. We weren't young. We were inexperienced, so we had 17 seniors starting, but all but like 3 of them hadn't played a snap on a Friday night as a starter. So, we had some adversity and had some tough losses, a couple, and early in the year, and in every game you look back, we're a possession in the fourth quarter away from having a chance to take the lead, in every game that we lost. And we go down to, we had come off a tough loss against Bradley. We just lost Noah Vaughn for the year, broke his leg, who was our, running back and committed to Virginia. So great player. So how are you going to respond,
Yeah.
And man, our kids, I can't say enough about how impressive that this, that Maryville program is, and the Maryville kids, and they just practiced their rear ends off that week. And Bradley was a good football team, and we went on the road, and it was like, I can't remember the exact score at halftime, but I thought it was like 10-7 or 13-7. And, we ended up winning that game, like 38-7 or 38-10, and really pulled away in the second half. And that got us going. And that was, I think that was the first region win, Chase, since I've been head coach, that I truly probably celebrated. I felt like since I'd been head coach, a lot of those wins were more relief than anything. Obviously you feel the pressure at Maryville, you get the pressure to win, and fortunately we were able to win some state championships, recently, but that doesn't make it go away. That doesn't make the pressure go away. I mean, Coach Quarles, who I played for, my mentor, who I think the world of, he set the bar so high, and all I want to do as a coach, head coach, is maintain that standard of excellence at Maryville. It's very important to me. And our kids are phenomenal. Fans are phenomenal. Programs for assistant coach. We have the best coaching staff in the state. I would go to bat for them any day. So the fact that we were able to go down there to Bradley after, the first, I think somebody said it was like the first loss to a Knox team, since the early 2000s. And I didn't know all that stuff. You'd hear it along the way, but I don't really pay attention to streaks. But anyway, how do you respond? Well, we go down there and win that game, secure the number one seed in the region, and then really start playing good football in the playoffs. And that was exciting. I mean, our kids deserved that. They kind of had been through the gauntlet, and for them to respond that way and experience the success that we experienced in the playoffs and get all the way back to the semifinals. That I think I remember after we'd lost that game to West in week 9, of course we lost Noah. I had heard there's people to my face, Maryville fans saying, "Yeah, we're not getting to the semis with the team." It's like, golly, give us a chance. Bradley Central, Gage Ledoux, who had been playing fullback, goes back to running back, and all he does is run for 260 yards in the first game. And so it's like, we're going to be fine. And I credit our kids and our coaches for just keep working. Less show horse, more plow horse. Let's just keep working, keep grinding. And man, we did. We played some really good football in the playoffs, and even did some good things against Oakland. Now they were on a different level. Yeah. It was a good finish to the year. Obviously, I hate losing. I don't ever want to lose, but all in all, super proud of this team to get back to the semifinal game. After kind of the bumps in the road that we had, I couldn't be more prouder of them.
Okay, I've never heard that before. Hold on, say more plow horse. What was that expression? I have not heard that before. Say that one more time.
Less show horse, more plow horse. So
I'm going to use that. I like that. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, just get to work, baby. Start working.
I like it. You get one do-over coaching to coach from this past year. Which game do you take?
Do-over?
Yeah, you get one coaching do-over that you, after on Saturday, you're having your cup of coffee and you're like,
dang, just one's tough. Because every game, I'm thinking this was stupid.
Okay.
Oh, man. Obviously, I'm going to point to the 3 games that we lost in the regular season.
It could be a game you won where you're like, I shouldn't have, it could have gotten a lot differently. I would have had a lot less stress if I had done this differently.
Man, you put me on the spot with this one because it's really hard to pick just one. Like I said, on a Saturday morning, when I watch it back, that's typically when I watch it back, get up Saturday morning, watch it. And like, there's a plethora of calls where I'm like, man, that was just so tough. and you try to make notes and be better. From, it's all about putting your kids in a spot to be successful. And when you don't do that, it's disappointing because you work too hard not to do that. Man, one call, Here's what I'll go with this. We kicked the ball off to Oakland. The first game of the first play of the game in the semi, they ran it back for a touchdown. And if we had to do that again, and it's my fault, and Coach White, who does our kickoff team, does a phenomenal job with kickoff. He's one of the best special team coaches I've ever been around. It's fun to watch. He gets after it too. But I was the one telling him the whole time, no, we kind of beefed up our kickoff team, and I'm pushing him all week. Hey, let's kick it off. Let's kick it off. He probably would have, basically a sky kick, so they can't return it.
Yeah,
probably would have leaned that way if it wasn't for me pressuring him. Maybe not pressuring, but just hoping that we give it a chance. And let the guys go make a tackle so that they have to drive, maybe 80 yards or 70 yards versus 60.
Yeah.
When we kick it off to them and they run it back for a touchdown, and now you're down 7-0. You're down 7-0 to a team you're going to have to upset. They're the best team, and you got to get off. You have to get off to a good start in those games, especially on the road. And so, I kicked myself over that one because I know how much I influenced Coach White to do that, and I think that he was probably right and I was wrong.
Interesting. What was different about this year's team that surprised you before the year? So, like, thinking back to what you thought this team was going to be in August, what surprised you after it was all said and done that you were like, okay, I didn't see that coming with this year's group?
Yeah. So this year's team, and of course this is something we talk about with them. We certainly weren't like the most talented team we've ever had. But the kids, now that don't mean we didn't have some good players, because we did. But this team was probably the grittiest we ever had, and you learn a lot about yourself when you lose, when you fail. When you win, Chase, like, it's easy. Winning covers up a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that you're really not doing that well. But if you're winning, it can kind of get glossed over,
right?
And doesn't get fixed. And so, as a head coach this year, for me, it was, number one, humbling, but two, it was a great learning experience to say, we lost this game and could have won it had I done this differently. Had I set us on a different path here. And so, I just think when I look back at this team in August versus, I didn't realize how mentally tough this team was, because they were super mentally tough. And the fact that we finished the way that we did, this team, like, usually when good teams, things don't go well, they start pointing fingers and they'll start, griping at each other. And man, our kids didn't do that one bit, that not one bit. And they didn't give us any troubles at practice. We'd show up on a Monday after a tough game. Of course, I'm sitting here talking like it happened. We lost every game, and we didn't.
That's coaching, man. That's how it feels. Like, that's coaching.
But they were fun. I mean, our kids were phenomenal. And I just, like I said, the high character of our kids was just really, it's what made this year really fun.
I like it. What did you learn about yourself as a coach this year?
Yeah, I mean, every year you think, all right, well, we did a pretty good job at this, and and this, and it's so easy, I think, to start feeling good about what you're doing, and it's like I said, winning glosses over a lot of areas that need improvement, and so
you start going through the motions a little bit.
Yeah, well, complacency comes quickly and quietly. It's on you before you know it. It doesn't warn you when it's coming, and then bam, it's there. Yeah. And if you're careful, you will fall into it. And so, one thing I learned this year is that, personally, my desire to win has never been higher. And like I said, you learn that when you don't win. If you don't win and it doesn't feel that bad to you, maybe your desire to continue to do things that you have to do to be successful, maybe it's not as high. But I think, personally, I think my desire to win has never been higher. And I want our kids to experience that. We're going to do it the right way, for sure. We're never going to sacrifice our integrity to win games. But I mean, we have as a staff, I can speak for our staff, we have a strong desire to do things the right way, but to win every game we play. And that's our goal, and we want to do right by kids and help them be successful when they're 30, 35, 40 years old. And still those principles in them. And so, like I said, I just can't say enough about this year's team, but for me personally, we certainly learned a lot. I learned a lot. You find out who your friends are, you have a tough year, and who's still supporting you, sending you a text, and so. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a football game. It's not like it's not a life or death situation.
I don't know. I've been to Maryville. I've been on those sidelines. I've seen it. I don't know about that.
No, yeah, it's a great place to be. I promise you that. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
But it's good, right? Like the pressure, you won't find it in a lot of other spots. The pressure it's a different kind of pressure. But know there. Yeah, you know what you're walking into.
Yeah, the worst thing you could ever want to do at a place like this is lower the expectation. There'd be teams that if they went 11-4, they'd parade down the middle of town. Made it to the semifinals. And we're proud of that. I'm not saying that we're not proud of what we accomplished this year, because I think this team accomplished a lot. But at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to in Maryville to start lowering their expectations, because we want to win championships. We want to win games, and and that may not be our priority, because I think high school football is built to teach you about life than any other game or really activity probably that's ever been created. And that's why I love it. That's why I love this game. That to me is the priority, and it should be. And I think our coaching staff embodies that so well. And they all go out of their way to spend time with our kids off the field and invest in them and love them and serve them so well. But secondly, we want to win. And we're willing to work hard for it. I just don't think I think that's the best route. That's the best thing you can teach a kid is to work hard for this. And here's the thing, and we tell them all the time, hard work doesn't guarantee you success, but it's the only chance you'll have. So that's our route, developing kids. We believe, in a book by James Collin, Good to Great. It's like this, you might have read it, but it's just it's a classic, and it's one that leaders and business men and women, I'm sure, have read for years. But one of the things I love about that book is he talks about the hedgehog concept, and those very successful companies, they knew who they were. They didn't try to, they didn't jump at the latest trend and the next flash in the pan and try to get rich quick and all this stuff. They knew who they were. They stuck to it. They found what they could be the best in the world at, and they just improved on that. And so, that's kind of the idea that we've taken at Maryville. Is one of the things I think we can do as good or better than anybody is develop kids from a freshman to a senior. And so that's where we put all of our efforts in developing our kids, obviously from a football perspective, but also off the field and character building and all that stuff too. Goes down to the specifics of their position, but the development, and we've got a larger staff, great coaches. I think we've got like 6 or 7 former head coaches on our staff, and we believe in development of kids, and that's our hedgehog. That's who we are. And so we play a full freshman schedule, we play a full JV schedule, and then obviously we play a full varsity schedule. And that's like I tell our guys, the only way you get better at playing football is by playing football. So we'll play as much football as we possibly can, let our tons of kids play, so that way as they grow and they develop into good football players.
I like it, because most kids, like when you do the math, people just 99% are never playing the NFL. 99.999, even college. It's really, really hard, and it should be, like you said, about developing and getting you ready for life. And I that's one of the reasons I will always love and cover high school football, is for reasons like that. It's early. It's February 1st, so you haven't done spring ball yet. But you still have an idea of how different your team might look in the fall. What do you think is going to be, for the fans who are curious about what looks the most different? What do you think is going to look the most different about the 2023 Maryville Rebels schematically than the year prior?
Yeah. So what's crazy is, my first year's head coach was 2016, and we had a really good idea going into that year, 18, 19, 20, who we were going to be. Last year was the first year I can remember we were like, man, I have no idea. We were learning who we were.
Yeah. Noah Vaughn's good. I know we could do something with him.
Who's that?
No,
No,
Vaughn's good. Yeah. Like, I know he's good.
Well, Noah was pretty good, but we were learning who we were. Had a new quarterback, Matthew Clay. You know, we were learning who we were into October. You know, and you know, as I'm like, gosh, I wish we could find out faster, and I'm trying to figure it out as fast as we can. But you know, we played Oakland with 2 sophomores in the backfield, and at tight end that didn't really play all year because of injuries, and you know, I mean, you just got to adjust and move on. And so it was just one of those years. This, I feel like I'm in the same boat again. Like, we had 17 seniors that started, and they're gone.
Yeah.
And one of them, his last name was Vaughn. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, and he's at Virginia. He's not going to be anymore. But we do have some good players coming back. We actually will be young. You know, I think everybody thought we were young. We weren't young. We're just inexperienced. We actually will be younger this year. But man, we've got some good young players at Maryville. I mean, really do have some good young players, and you know, some of them that we're excited about. So this might be one of those years where, you know, we're still trying to figure out who we are. But I'll tell you this: at the end of the year, we're going to have a lot more come back the following year because they're not all going to be seniors. That's my prediction. So I feel really good about where our program's at, and you know, like we haven't lost a coach at Maryville in a long time, and you know, that has been huge for the consistency of our program from one season to another.
Final 2 questions. Tape hero that did not light up the stat sheet from this past year. That the folks, like, they just look at stats after the game and they're like, oh, he did this, he did that. Who did you see week in, week out that you were like, man, you're up Saturday morning watching, you're like, he's just solid. He just does a lot of the little things that we really, really needed that will not show up in the stat sheet. Who fit that bill for you this year?
Yeah, the guys that played what we call the H, but it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that fullback, H-back type player. There was 3 of them, really kind of 4 of them that did that. And so it started off Eli Elkins, and then until he got injured, Gage Ledoux did a lot, and then he went back when Noah got hurt. Price Davis and Jonah Arms, 2 sophomores that I just talked about, they took it over in the playoffs. And so those guys are exactly, you just described them. They may not touch the ball but 3 or 4 times a game, but they do so much and allow us to do so much as an offense of motioning and shifting and getting an extra hat on a certain side. And then obviously the stuff that nobody likes to do anymore in football, and that's block. And, you know, football is still all this crap we talk about and all that. It still comes down to blocking and tackling. If you block, if you can get off block and make a tackle, or if you can block their butts and run the football, it just sets up the pass. It just makes you so much harder to defend. And at the end of the day, football is still about those things. And those 4 guys I just mentioned, they're the kind of the unsung heroes of the group that make a Noah Vaughn, you know, look really good.
It's funny too, like, it sounds like kind of where your team's going, and especially with next year. And this was the last 49ers thing I promise I'll bring up, but they're on the brain, and I love watching Shanahan scheme and everything. And one of the things they built their team with CMC and Debo that we were talking about, and we're talking about the future of the sport, is, like you said, tackling and blocking is so important, but like building a team around guys who are just so good after contact is a good way of winning. So like Maryville just being like, understanding that, like, hey, all these guys are super physical and are hard to bring down. Like, when your whole group is just a pain to bring down, like, that's a good strategy too. And that's what they built their team on, is just all these guys were not necessarily the fastest, not necessarily the shiftiest, but because tackling is so much worse now than it was 10 to 15 years ago, when you build your team around guys who it's tough to bring down, even if they're not the best athletes, you can win a lot of football games, because everyone stinks at tackling and doesn't want to tackle them because they're just hard to bring down. That's just a pain. So like that's something I was just thinking about. Like, watching you guys against Powell this year, I saw that was the one I saw up close before I broke my foot. Would have saw y'all more. Broke my foot the week of my wedding, coach. Like, I broke my foot running. I've been a runner every day of my life for 16 years, cross country track, all that. Broke my foot week of my wedding, and I was in a boot for 2 months. It was a whole thing. Like, I don't wish that on my worst enemy, breaking a foot.
I hate to hear it.
Getting back to what I was, but seeing it was just running it down their throats, and just it was a fun game. But like, Powell had some big dudes, but like, you just didn't want to bring a lot of your guys down. Like, y'all have that kind of mentality where might not be the fastest, but they're going to hit you over and over and over again. We're going to see how much you want to tackle. And that's like one of the things I'd written down for Maryville. It's like, we're going to see how much you want to tackle when you play Maryville.
Man, I mean, I kind of am proud that you said that about us, because or just that excites me because that's football in a nutshell. And we love to be flashy and impressive on offense too. But at the end of the day, you got to do what gets you there. And and there's been games, and that PAL game was one of them, where sometimes certain things aren't working, and you got to put the ball in the hands of somebody who's really hard to tackle. And it's not rocket science,
That's what happened in that game. I just read down, like, they just can't tackle him. They're just not going to bring him down. They're just going to wear him down. It's over. Like, it was one of those. It was over.
Yeah, and you try to wear on them, and it happened to us. Teams have done that to us before too. Yeah. And like I said, Oakland's, they've got a lot of dudes that are hard to tackle, and you get into the second half, and guys get tired, and they wear on you, and they lean on you. It's tough. But you can only prepare so much for that, because at the end of the day, they're the ones out there that got to do it, and that's it kind of challenges your will to an extent. So, but that's what makes football so great. That's what. So, and it's the man in the arena. That's the Teddy Roosevelt quote that I love, that everybody, that I think Tom Brady, has his I guess it's not his podcast, but there's a video about him on Apple TV, and a series about him, and that's what it's man in the arena. He's the one that did it. Whether you fail or whether you win, at least you did it. At least you tried, and the critic doesn't matter. And so, I love that, and it's so true. You got to get out there and try, and these are the ones who are willing to stay tough the longest come out in the end.
Absolutely. We'll end here, Coach. It's the off season. It's February. What's the most fun you've had post regular season and playoffs? What have you found yourself? What's some fun stuff that Coach Derek Hunt has done in the
offseason? So my family had never been to Disney.
Okay.
And I've got 3 kids, all 7 and down, so 7, 4, and 2. And so before Christmas, though that was their Christmas present, we went to Disney for a few.
How was that?
It was awesome. You hear about, hey, I'll never go to Disney, and I've heard Dad say that, and it's kind of funny, But I mean, we had a great time. I mean, we really did, and I just enjoyed spending time with my wife and my kids, and getting to watch them. I've got 2 young girls, and so it's magical for them, and they get to see that castle and obviously see those characters, and so they loved it, and because they loved it, I loved it, and what was great about it is you're able to get down there and you don't have to worry about football and the things that we as coaches spend all of our time being consumed with and thinking about. So it was really nice. I mean, it was a short trip, but it was needed, well needed, and man, we had a ball.
Did you drive?
We did. We did. And partially because my wife had family halfway. So we kind of killed 2 birds with one stone, got to visit them. And we stayed the night at their house and stuff too.
Okay.
So
how was the car ride? That's the big one. Is the car ride? As someone who grew up in that, where I had family in Jacksonville, we did the 7 hours. It was the car ride that got me. That I was like, all right, we got to get out of here. What are we doing in here?
The way down was great. I mean, we couldn't have a better trip down. The way back, we hit some road bumps, had some sick kids. I'll spend details, but we hit some road bumps. But just what I love about that, I would have freaked out probably 5 years ago. But when you have your 3rd kid, things you just kind of roll off of you. No pun intended. And we just my wife, we just pulled over, and
you're just used to it. Like, you're ready. You're a veteran.
Clean up the mess, and you move on, and you just get back on the road, and everybody's complaining about the smell, but it is what it is.
Are you a minivan guy? Are you driving the minivan down there, or what are y'all driving?
We're listen, minivan is one of the great inventions for a family. It's like driving a hotel room down the highway. So, I mean, listen, anybody who wants to hate on the minivan, obviously has never had a large family, because they're phenomenal. I mean, they're phenomenal. I mean, I don't personally drive one. It's my wife's daily driver.
Yeah.
Don't think for a second that on a Saturday, if it's sitting in the carport, I may just take it for a spin instead of my truck.
I like it. Coach, how do the good folks check out everything you got going on this off season over at Maryville? How do they support the program as you get ready for spring ball?
Yeah, I mean, listen, our community's second to none. I feel like Maryville obviously loves their football, but we're about to. We sell Rebel cards. That's what it's called. Our fundraising cards. So we'll be starting that, and they're really popular in Maryville, and they're a great deal. There's a lot of stuff in town that people can get 10 times their money back on, obviously. But we're excited about kind of what we're got coming. CJ Newton, who does a lot of video stuff and is kind of well known in the video creation and videography, does Tennessee basketball, has done some football, high school basketball as well. But he's going to be coming on board with us, all season. And
nice.
Really excited about having him, come shoot some of our highlights and do a highlight video for us. And he'll do some game recaps for us and be able to share some stories throughout the year that I think people really like to hear about. So something we're really excited about. And I think you can go follow him on Twitter and Instagram. And then obviously the Maryville Rebels Twitter and Instagram pages that, you'll probably get to see some stuff behind the scenes, maybe that nobody else has ever seen at Maryville High School before.
There you go. I like it. And then you're going to spend the offseason getting ready for TikTok. Coach Derek Hunt is going to spend a lot of time this offseason hitting the TikTok. He's going to be ready for next fall.
I've never had a TikTok. I won't. Yeah. I had a Snapchat about a decade ago for about one day, and then I got rid of it.
Yeah.
I have a Twitter account that I stopped logging on to in probably around June last year. And it's the best decision I ever made.
Yes.
I don't have a Facebook account, don't have Instagram, so I'm off social media.
This is the dream, though. I can't do that, Coach. You're able to do that. I can't. I have to be on all this.
Yeah, you have to. And listen, I respect. It is what it is, and
yeah,
maybe there'll be a day where I'm back. But man,
no, don't say that. Don't. No, Coach, you're gone. Just go ahead and live with it. You're gone. Just enjoy it.
It was depressing. I get on Twitter, and Twitter, like, it's a great news source. Like, that's what it is. It's not really it's not a place where you go socialize with people.
Well, people do, and those
we've given them a platform,
mm-hmm.
and it was just depressing. And I was just like, I'm spending too much time. 1 minute on Twitter every day scrolling was too much time.
Yeah. So
when I was spending more than that, I was like, I've got to change what I'm doing with my spare time. Not that I have a ton of it, but
yeah.
So that was and I'm not saying I'm better than people who are using Twitter by any means, but for me personally, it's been really good.
This is how Coach Derek Hunt got into yo-yoing. He was like, I got to do something else. And he's just like, you see him on the sidelines this fall. He's got the yo-yo.
I like a yo-yo. Yeah.
Who doesn't like a yo-yo? Bring that back.
Yep.
Yo-yos are good. Coach, thank you so much for the time. This is a lot of fun. Great catching up. Good luck this off season, and we'll reconnect again very soon.
Awesome. Can't wait, Chase. Thank you so much.